If when you hear someone say KPIs, you go, huh? This video's for you. So the term KPIs gets thrown around a lot in business, but it's not necessarily something that everyone is familiar with. And even if we are familiar with them, oftentimes we don't know what to do with them or how to set them up. So we're going to break down all of these real quick for you. So what exactly are KPIs? Well, KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator, which basically just means these are the numbers that are going to tell you whether or not your business is moving in the right direction. Think of these like the vital signs for your business. This is basically your heart rate, your blood pressure, your temperature, your oxygen levels, right? So obviously tracking KPIs is important for your business, but they also help you make smarter decisions. They help you figure out where do you spend your money, where do you spend your energy, where do you invest your time. They help you identify problems before they show up in like the revenue numbers. Without KPIs, we are either overwhelmed by data or we are just like stabbing in the dark. So how do we actually figure out which key performance indicators are the ones we actually want to track, the ones that are actually going to make the most difference for us? Well, the first step is going to be figuring out what is the big goal. So obviously the big goal in business is, grow the revenue. But there are usually steps leading to that growth of revenue. So for example, maybe you actually do want to generate more sales off your website itself. Okay, that's great. That directly impacts revenue. But maybe you have an intermediate step before it gets to growth revenue. And so you just need to get more people booking appointments with you on your website. So now that you've got your big goal, whether that's more followers, more sales, more appointments, you're going to start looking at what could I track that would move the needle on the big goal. Obviously, you want to track the big goal itself, right? And I usually recommend just doing this in like an Excel spreadsheet and having it track month over month. Like you could say, hey, we're going to track total revenue month over month over month so we can see it very easily. And then below that, you have the intermediate steps that are impacting that, whether that is, appointments booked on the website, sales generated through the website, or followers on social media. But now you need to figure out what are some intermediate steps that are going to lead to that. Let's take a simple one and let's talk about followers on social media, since that is oftentimes a number that people are tracking pretty closely. Well, if you just track followers on social media, it's going to end up being incredibly misleading because that's only a single indicator. So you're not necessarily going to know where the problem is. So you need to pick some additional numbers that you can track month over month that are going to help you diagnose when there's a problem or where the problem is coming from. So you may track total followers on social media, but you also might track like total reach or total impressions is sometimes what it's called. And that really simply is just the number of people who saw your posts in a month. You might also track engagement, like total engagement. Engagements are going to be anyone who interacted with the post, commented, liked, shared, saved, etc. You may individually track total shares too, because that's a really big indicator that people are resonating with your content. But if you're tracking all these numbers individually, then you just go in at the end of every month and grab those numbers and plug them in. And so now you can see, okay, maybe we didn't grow followers this month, but well, okay, our reach, our total like impressions were way down as well. So where did that come from? Well, we didn't get a whole lot of like engagement on our posts. Okay, we need to try and focus on increasing engagement. So let's post more questions. Let's post funnier stuff that tries to get people to actually engage with our material. If your goal is to try and increase bookings on your website, then you may track stuff like your total site traffic. You may track stuff like how many people go to the booking page itself. You may track stuff like how much direct traffic do you get versus organic traffic do you get, right? Finding additional numbers that you can then say, okay, this month we really want to focus on increasing our organic traffic. So we're going to do a bunch of search engine optimization stuff on the website to improve this number, knowing that it should increase our numbers to the website so we can then determine whether or not the website is actually guiding people to the booking page correctly. Keep in mind that not all metrics are going to be KPIs. The KPI is the number that tells you whether or not this individual portion is working. That's the followers number, or the total traffic to the contact page number, or total bookings on the contact page, right? That is the number that ultimately says, yes, this is working or not. But then in order to troubleshoot, you need to think about what impacts this number that matters most, the total followers or total traffic to the booking page or total number of bookings, right? Because total traffic to the booking page would impact total number of bookings, right? KPIs, or key performance indicators, give you clarity, direction, and focus. They help you understand whether or not important numbers are moving that are going to tell you whether or not the business is healthy. But then they also help you figure out, where do I need to put my attention, right? Instead of saying we need to post more to social media, we say, oh, well, we didn't get good reach because our engagement was down. We need to increase engagement. How do we increase engagement? We post more like interesting stuff that makes people laugh and feel and think, right? That is how you end up moving that ultimate number, that followers number, by increasing the amount of impressions that you're getting. So next time you hear someone talking about KPIs, know that they are talking about whether or not the business is healthy or not. If that temperature is 103 or a nice healthy 96.6 or whatever it's supposed to be. And if you're trying to figure out what KPIs should you track, then look at the big picture, look at your ultimate goals, and then backtrack yourself into that. And here's the cool thing about key performance indicators and that tracking. You can track a number for 3 or 4 months. If it's not helping, if you're not sure what to do with it, you can either ask for help or you could just change it up. There have been times when we've tracked a number thinking it was going to be important, but we realize that number's not moving and that's not changing, and it doesn't really matter how these other numbers change. This one's not changing, so there's no real reason to keep tracking that over and over. Let's stop tracking that and let's add in some other ones. You get to be in charge. You get to be in control of changing these out. But here's what I will promise you. You will only figure out which numbers you need to track for your business if you get out there and start doing it. Even if you feel like you're doing it for no reason at all, you can always ask for help in understanding them and what to do with them, instead of just not doing anything at all. If you'd like a little bit of help with figuring out what KPIs you should be tracking, drop it in the comments and I'm happy to throw out some options that might be helpful. So whatever your big goal is, drop whatever that is and I'll throw out, hey, maybe try tracking XYZ over a few months and see if it gives you some information and see if that can help you figure out what to do, so you can also be more focused, have more direction, and have a little bit more clarity.